Thank you for auditing the always positive new music review show hosted by a French professor who usually on Thursday reviews something a little bit underground in my Thunderground Thursday segment. I've been having a lot of sort of life catastrophes, which means I haven't been able to listen to a lot of new music lately, or at least not search for it. Fortunately, there have been some albums that have come out by bands that I want to talk about and that I'm interested in, such as Gorillaz and their new album Cracker Island. Now, first of all, if you like this album, I'm going to do a little teaser for you. It's going to be a long review. All my reviews are long. I don't edit them. I am trying to be further away from the camera because someone told me I should. Tell me in the comments if it's good or bad that you see me do this more. I don't know. It bugs me, but what do I know? You probably won't be able to guess my favorite song on this album. Now, if you saw my review of Song Machine Part 1, or Song Machine Part Only, as it turns out, I really liked that album. And I liked that despite the fact that I have this sort of long history of not really connecting with Damon Albarn. I realized yesterday, I was driving my son to a sort of college recruitment event, and I realized that Damon Albarn is sort of the Nas of alternative rock. Like I like his stuff, and I own a lot of his stuff, but I don't connect with it the same way I do a lot of his contemporaries. He has a spectacular amount of longevity, very innovative, and I always respect him, even if his art doesn't always resonate with me. Now, of course, that's changed with Nas. Now Nas is one of my favorites because of his recent work, but I think that's kind of an interesting comparison. I ended up really liking Song Machine, and my definition for that album was that it was an enjoyable slog. Like, it was super long, just filled and filled and filled with songs and guest appearances, and to the contrary, Cracker Island is a neat little album. It really works. It's concise. And I'll get into why I like it. I accidentally made fun of Damon Albarn on my last video where I reviewed Shame, and I sang a song that I thought was an imitation of a bad Oasis song, but it turns out I was just singing a song from Blur. That was unintentional. If I had to choose between Oasis and Blur, I'm definitely going to choose Blur. That was a choice we had to make at some point, right? I was just one of the, I'll go with Radiohead, whatever. Now, the thing that's good and bad, I think, about Gorillaz is their lore. I remember when they started. I remember very clearly, was it 97, 98, something around there. And I remember when the guy from Blur is starting a cartoon band. And, he was ahead of his time. I mean, it's not like nobody had thought of the idea of avatars. That idea existed well before, great book like Snow Crash, Poor Impulse Control. The only tattoo I've ever thought about getting was Poor Impulse Control across my forehead. But, he was ahead of his time. He really was, because the idea of having a cartoon to represent the band and have you not really know what the band is or who the musicians are, allowed them to never age, allowed them to be truly avatars, representations of something that they were not. It's a cool idea, sort of. It didn't really, I saw the designs and I thought they were cool. The music didn't really connect with me because maybe it's just Albarn's voice I don't like. But the main issue was that, I didn't want to learn about the lore. And the way that I felt was that this was sort of intentionally, it's doing the very postmodern thing of commenting on something while being that thing at the same time. So sort of commenting on, pop music is just a product. It's just a cartoonish product. And then also being pop music that is also a product. And the fear is that you're so busy making this high-concept, lore-ridden music with beautifully produced artisanal pop that there's no emotional core, that you can't actually connect to it, that it has some kind of distance, that it's nothing more than a comment on the thing that it is without really being that thing, which is a great pop album. So we have this divide that's just naturally in this music between the cartoon and the artists. And what I realize is that I just need to shut up. I just need to come to terms with it. I just need to relax, Lore is not inherently the enemy of emotional honesty. I can think of a lot of great albums that are steeped in lore that are great albums, like the best Pink Floyd album, Animals, filled with lore. One of the best Who albums, Quadrophenia, filled with lore. Several David Bowie albums filled with lore. A lot more on David Bowie later. So I'm at peace with Gorillaz as this kind of postmodern, oh, and the lead singer's been like this, and the bass player's like that, and the this and the that. It's fine. It's two different things. It's an art project. It's a music project. A lot of this ties into the way that I listen to music. So when I know I'm going to review something, the first time I listen, I just listen to the music, not to the words. And I will listen to the words if those jump out, if those are in the front, if those are the focus of what I'm supposed to be listening to. It's very telling when I listen to music what words pop out on the first listen. And then I listen just for lyrics. So this morning, before doing that, before listening just for lyrics, I looked up. I think I looked up Cracker Island lore, and I found this video by Self-Titled Productions. Thank you for the video. That gives the whole story. It helped me understand a lot of lyrics. Like, I thought the lyric was, they taught themselves to be a cow, but it turns out they taught themselves to be a cult, or they taught themselves about the occult, which is quite different. Turns out this whole thing is this like cult, and he starts a cult in Silver Lake, California, and the neighbor has a cult, and I don't know, the singer guy he's digging holes, and the bass player gets brainwashed. Watch it. It's fun. It's cool. You know, I've gotten into the habit lately of just like watching videos about things that I don't have the time to appreciate properly. Like I watch like videos about like Spider-Man comic books that I'll just never get to read. This is like, oh, here's the entire history of the Superior Spider-Man arc where Dr. Octopus becomes Spider-Man. I wanted to read that. I never had the time. So I watched a 5-minute video, described the whole thing, 10-minute video. So, you know, but that's kind of what this is, you know, like, is this just a goofy comic book idea, or is it a meaningful album? But then again, I mean, even meaningful albums are what? A collection of the singer-songwriter's thoughts. Ooh, baby, baby, I love you. Ooh, baby, baby, I loved you. Ooh, baby, baby, you loved me, but I didn't love you. You know, weird sort of variations on that. This album isn't really that. It's not that, nor is it merely a conveyance of lore. Really, if you study it, and you think about the allegory behind the lore, it's an album mostly about Los Angeles, but about the things that Los Angeles tells us about ourselves, about the cult of youth that we have, about the emptiness of celebrity life, about the need to sort of cut back and just appreciate like sunrises and sunsets and try to be less digitally connected. It reminds me a lot, and I'm going to come back to this a couple of times, but of OK Human by Weezer. I think that's actually the fairest comp that this album has, but I'm not even ready fully to tell you why it's such a good comparison. And the main thing that this allows, this avatar, this Gorillaz thing, right? See if I can name the members. Noodles, 2D, Marcus? I'm done. Those are the only ones I know. Tell me, smash the like bucket and tell me in the comments if you know the names of the other ones. There's a playfulness and there's a freedom with these avatars. And that's what they're able to do. They're able to be playful and be serious at the same time, which, if I'm being honest, that's the kind of stuff I love. I love playfulness. I love kind of artistic freedom. I love not feeling that you have to be serious all the time to say serious things. And I think the thing about Song Machine that was good, but also might have held it back, was just how heavy it was into co-stars. Now, this album is filled with co-stars, you know. You got Beck and Tame Impala and Stevie Nicks and Siri. But I think the real way to understand Gorillaz, or at least this album, is not in terms of the co-stars. And indeed, here's a spoiler for what is my favorite song. My favorite song does not feature the co-stars. My favorite part of this album is the collaboration between Damon Albarn and his producer, Greg Kurstin. So, What's the real key to this album? It's not whether or not the lotus flower neighbor fell in love with the bass player's aunt. It's not that stuff. It's Greg Kurstin. Now, I've reviewed a couple albums produced by Greg Kurstin, the last Adele album, Egypt Station by Paul McCartney. But in looking at his back catalog, he actually made a lot of music that I liked before I started this channel, back when I was dead to new music and only random things would pop up. Like, I liked that Lily Allen album when it came out. I liked Licky Lee when it came out. And most of all, perhaps the best pop song of the 2010s. Blow Me, parentheses, One Last Kiss by Pink. If you are ever going through a divorce, my friends, oh my God, that is the #1 divorce jam. Oh my God, Blow Me One Last Kiss. The amount of times I spent on that porch out there, I would just put the song in my ears. I'd just sit there and I would have what I called self-pity dance parties while I was going through my divorce. Blow me one last kiss. You had a bad day. Yeah, I had a bad... Oh my God. That song rules. So I'm immediately, once I realized that the guy who did Blow Me One Last Kiss is working with Damon Albarn, I am all in. And that's the reason why I'm not going to review the deluxe edition. You might be staring at the runtime of this review and be like, how can you not talk about the extra songs? But the extra songs are not this great collaboration. I told you I was going to come back to Weezer, and that's why. You know, what makes modern Weezer so good is really it's two guys. I get it. The rest of the guys are there, but it's really two guys. It's Rivers Cuomo and Jake Sinclair, the pop producer. Here we have Damon Albarn and Greg Kurstin, the pop producer. So that's why this reminds me so much of OK Human, because the way it's produced is a similar way. Also, these themes are the same damn themes. Self-imposed isolation in Los Angeles, so LA. This is such an LA album. Even most of the guest stars they either are from Los Angeles or they feel very Los Angeles, and they somehow weirdly live in Phoenix. Stevie Nicks lives in Phoenix. Props to Stevie Nicks. One of my biggest problems about people who sing about LA is that very few people are born there. They choose to live there, and then they make entire albums about how much it sucks. Hey, Rivers Cuomo, hey, Damon Albarn, you don't have to live in Silver Lake. You don't have to live in Hollywood. Anyways, and just so these themes are all there. In addition, wariness about technology, sort of wary hopefulness for the future and for the next generation, and coming to terms with and fighting getting old. OK Human, Cracker Island. Sorry, right there you saw the part in my mind where I was like, wait, I have OK Human on vinyl. I could have held it up right now, and that would have been good, and I could have used it for my thumbnail and everything, but it's over there. It's in my record collection over there. It's somewhere over there. So there you go. So yeah. So the best songs are the songs not with the co-stars, in my opinion, where it's just Greg and Damon working together. And the thing that I love about this album is that not only is it a lot tighter than Song Machine, but it's like groove based. Every song is a groove. Has something where you can, you're not freaking out. You're not, But also you're not sitting there thinking super hard. You're just kind of grooving. In a way, it sort of fills in that Daft Punk hole that's in our hearts, of like kind of disco, kind of techno, kind of pop. Just like, just every single song is a groove. Let me give you an example. Here's my sample track. Whenever possible, my homework is the first track on the album. It helps to set the stage. Click above the banana, above this stuffed animal. In the comments, do you know the name of this stuffed animal? I bet you don't. Cracker Island, the first song. And this, I think, is important as the first song because it announces groove. Okay? It's not starting off with Beck. It's starting off with Thundercat, the bass player, the singer, the surgeon on the Book of Boba Fett, the actor, okay? And this announces the groove. The great simple keyboard notes start, the drums come immediately. Greg Kurstin is a great drummer, by the way. Thundercat isn't doing much here in the beginning. We have the wood block here, and really, like, we had this great singing. The first time we hear Thundercat is when we hear him singing, when he's sort of like, so this, Jesus, I almost called him 2D. Albarn, I'm getting into the lore. Albarn is 2D is the one who sings, right? It's not the mean guy, right? The mean guy is like the guy who controls everything, and 2D is the dumb singer, right? Anyways, Albarn is singing, but he's basically just sort of talking. And in the back, we have this forever cult. We have this singing, and it's beautiful, the play. But then the chorus is where that groove that's been set gets a lot funkier. The bass comes in, that real Daft Punk style guitar, the kind of weird, crunchy, syncopated guitar lines, very kind of Around the World. I think if you put this song next to Around the World, I think if you were a DJ and you set up a party and you played Cracker Island and you followed it up with Around the World, everybody would be in that same vibe. Hey, is this too distracting, the light off of my zipper? Do it that way. Maybe it's less distracting. I don't know. Is it weird how much of me you see? Because normally I'm like this. Hi, welcome to Professor Sky's Record Review. Don't edit that. Damn it. Someone's going to clip that. I love this bass. I love hearing Thundercat just go. It's one thing to be a super classically trained musician who is just one of the best in the world. It's another to be so tasteful. I love his voice. I love the punctuation from Thundercat. I love how Albarn or 2D or whoever hell it is singing has this really just very heavy British accent all the way through, which is full credit, by the way, to Damon Albarn always having his accent. And then the end is the biggest tease, because it's like you think you're going to get this full funk dance breakdown. You get the sense of this little bass solo, and you think like, yeah, here we go. And then it ends with this little tinkling synth. I wish the song went on for one more minute with Thundercat just going ham, but there you go. So, that's what I picked up on the first time. Second time, I'm listening to the lyrics. On Cracker Island, it was born to the collective of the dawn. They were planting seeds at night to grow a man-made paradise where the truth was auto-tuned. So I get it. This is about, whatever, this cult that lives in Cracker Island, whatever. But really, the truth was auto-tuned. We're starting to get into these themes of a sort of perfected reality. The truth is auto-tuned. If you're on whatever, TikTok, or I started spending more time on TikTok, but it's not good, like, for me. I don't, it's weird. You look at one thing for like 3 seconds and then that's all you see for the next half hour. And everybody looks weird. And everything's just unsettling and uncomfortable. And it feels like auto-tune. Like, it feels like human relationships being filtered through auto-tune. And auto-tune is not inherently bad. But I do like this idea of the truth being auto-tuned. And these whole themes, if we go into the whole lore of it all, it does seem to be about this obsession with staying young. And really, this is nothing new. The adrenochrome stuff, that's not new. The idea that rich people are trying to stay young or have some kind of cultish desire to stay young makes sense, because when you have power, the only thing you can possibly hope to maintain or obtain is more life. When you have power and money, the only thing you can hope for is just more time to have that power and money. I ever told you the story of Dorotheus the Wise? So I like it. I like how it can exist as this thing for lore heads who are super excited because, I don't know, this ties together to a story that was told 10 years ago, but also it's this sort of deeper theme of sort of questioning the nature of humanity, its interface with technology, its obsession with youth, and how that's presented through a weird, technologically aided false image of perfection. Happy with how that came out. That false image of perfection, which ironically is emphasized by the fact that they've created a band that never has to age and can look the same forever and ever and ever and ever, If you love Radiohead like I love Radiohead, you have to watch Thom Yorke get old. I love watching Thom Yorke get old because he just looks cooler and cooler the older he gets, but still, it's a reminder of death. 2D and Noodles, and Marcus, and the other one, what's the bass player's name? Marcus is the mean guy. No, Marcus is the mean bass player. What's the drummer's name? Doesn't matter. That those guys never age. The next song is called Oil. And when I tell you that I like this album, the way these first two songs come together, it's really spectacular. This has a great... So, Stevie Nicks is of Fleetwood Mac, another band I've never really liked very much. I respect, but don't particularly like. But it has that glossy late 70s feel of Fleetwood Mac, while still sounding very much of the moment. It has that Stevie Nicks, scarves everywhere feeling. I love the fact that she's featured, but she isn't up front. The whole thing has like a shimmering sound. There's even a point where I think they're using a 12-string guitar, which has this sort of angelic feel. But again, it's a great melody, but a great groove. It's a lower groove, but each song feels like it's based on groove. And Stevie Nicks' voice is so cool. The way that it sounds, especially when they say interlocking cluster bombs. Hey kids, can you say interlocking cluster bombs? Good. It's just great. And all these lyrics are great. Fairy-like companions to do the dark maths that catapult us into imagined worlds seems a mockery remote. This feels very much tied into technology and the sort of imagined worlds. Interlocking cluster bombs like drum and bass, I thought, closed the wells of poison. I filled them up with love. And when they say fills up with love, it gets to be almost like gospel. It feels to me like this song is sort of a salvation song about being saved from the isolation of technology. Just a great, great song. Yeah, she's kind of a cartoon too with all those scarves. And it ends with these happy words. Don't think that my heart is a sad affair without you. Individual actions change the world. Fill them up with love. Once again, the synthesizer gets the last words, which leads into the next song, The Tired Influencer. First song, just Greg and Damon. Not my favorite song. I'm not going to spoil that. Not my favorite song. I do like it quite a bit. Here, the first time, the lyrics feel like they're more important than the rest of the song. Like the lyrics are above the groove. It's a cracked screen world where the white blooms above the city catch the sunrise and the freeway glows. Sunrise and sunset are a very important theme in this album. I think they're supposed to represent life outside of your house, life outside of your screen. Outside of your screen, man. Get off of TikTok, man. See the sunrise. I do like that the collaborator here is Siri and that they're using Siri. Why aren't people doing this more? It's natural. It's just a natural thing to do. I think he says, I gotta press on home, which is like a great lyric because you have to press on home. So you have to press to get home, but also there's usually a home button that you have to press on. I really like it. The isolation of technology again, but just such a sweet, sweet voice, kind of breezy and cool. But this is the big question. Is this a song about an influencer? Is this like an attack at one of the people who popped up in my TikTok feed or whatever? Is that what it is? Is it like a Jake Paul or a Logan Paul, Paul Pot? Is this like commenting on them? Or is he talking about himself as being a tired influencer? Or, more interestingly, is it about both? Is it sort of simultaneously about a sort of mythical Gen Zer or not? And I think that's the real question, is whether or not this song becomes what I call an OK Xer song, Damon Albarn and I are of the same generation, and our relationship towards technology is like open but a little bit weary, and maybe this song is just kind of like the tired influencer. But I don't know. I don't have an answer for that. Great ending from Siri. Next song is called Silent Running, featuring Adeleye Omotayo. Full 80s. Oh, I haven't even said 80s yet. God. I mean, there's so much of this album is super 80s. Like a very groovy 80s album. Real drums here, descending guitar lines. Again, kind of Daft Punky. And then there's whistling. And then this is where I had this moment. So the problem with David Bowie is that David Bowie is so many things to so many people that no one person can be David Bowie. I've compared so many artists to David Bowie. I think currently the artist who I have as in the running for the most David Bowie are Yves Tumor and of Montreal. But I'm going to throw Damon Albarn into the David Bowie just because the way he whistles here reminds me of Never Let Me Down off the album Never Let Me Down, which I did a video about. What is the Bowie-ness of Albarn? Well, listen, he does not have the same depths, but he does have the same ability to explore the surface, you know? Like Bowie loved exploring the surface in a deep way, and I think Damon Albarn's able to do that a lot. Of course, both of them were known to sing with a British accent, sometimes veering on crooners. They both were excellent at working with and stealing collaborators. They both had an amazing artistic durability, spanning many decades. Also had a lot of artistic vitality, being able to change with the times, and they both also at times became obsessed with concept albums and alter egos. Huh? Did I make that comparison? Does that work? Is he not another one of these kind of Bowies? I think he kind of is. The song is called Silent Running, and just I got two pictures here for you. This right here is Bruce Dern, probably my favorite actor of the 70s. The movie The Driver is one of my favorite movies, if you've never seen it. This movie, have you ever seen Silent Running? I think it's about, on Genius they say Silent Running is about a submarine. It is a submarine term, but it doesn't make as much sense. So Silent Running is this, it's a good movie, but it's weird. It has like a 50s sci-fi vibe with its kind of cheesy sets. And then kind of 70s half-assed ecological moralizing, like the post-Earth Day sort of, it was human, you know. But it also has things like Bruce Dern yelling and Bruce Dern playing cards with Koopa Troopa robots. You think I'm crazy? Watch the movie. You'll be like, that's Bruce Dern playing cards with Koopa Troopa robots. It's this whole like story of like taking all of Earth's rainforests and putting them into a greenhouse and then shooting them into space, and he's supposed to blow them up, but he refuses to. And then Joan Baez is singing all over the place. So it's an interesting movie, and I think it sort of makes sense. It feels like I've been silent running through the infinite pages. I scroll out searching for a new world that waits on the sunrise. You know, maybe this is about how Earth has become uninhabitable, but uninhabitable not because of ecological disasters and greenhouse gases, but more that it's just because, like, the way that we live and the way that we scroll, and we need to find organic things. Organic life, not automated life. We need to find this new world. We need to take the spiritual rainforests of our mind, the vibrant original thoughts that are getting thrown into this doom scrolling, right? Whatever you do, don't watch a Jimmy Kimmel joke all the way through, because then you'll get nothing but Jimmy Kimmel for the next like 5 minutes on. Anyways, you know, this division that we have between sort of old life and new life and dead life and blooming life, I think it makes sense. Next song is called New Gold, featuring Booty Brown and Tame Impala. This should be the best song on the album. It's the worst. It's a good song still. There's not a bad song on this album, but this is the least interesting. This is the most disappointing. You know, it's nice hearing Kevin Parker, is that his name? The guy from Tame Impala. But he feels a little bit on autopilot in the chorus. You know, he does the cool, like he did on the Slow Rush, and it's not terrible, but like when you see Tame Impala, you think this is going to be it. And frankly, I prefer the collaboration with Stevie Nicks, which is crazy because I don't own a Stevie Nicks album. The rapping here is from Booty Brown, who reminds me a lot of Del the Funky Homo Sapien. I will always be thankful to Gorillaz for giving Del the Funky Homo Sapien more shine. I wish my brother George was here. It was a great rap album. His second album was also very good. Although, holy cow, the song Chicken Heads is the meanest, most misogynist song in rap history. There's a lot of songs in the running. But if you like Del the Funky Homo Sapien, do not listen to the song Chicken Heads. I could rap it right now. It's so disturbing. But, more kind of life out of balance. There's a great movie from the early 80s called Koyaanisqatsi. It means life out of balance. That seems to be one of the big themes of this album, beyond the whatever cult of the cartoons. Liposuction scheduled for Granny. She want to save some, add to her fanny. The kind of syntheticness of life and the fake perfection and the fool's gold that they talk about. It is nice having Kevin Parker here because he's so good at writing grooves that it helps to feel like the Thundercat song. It's interesting because on Genius they have a quote from Greg Kurstin where he talks about the trouble with this song, and his conclusion is that they fixed it. I think they didn't. Damon had started this with Kevin, and I was a bit stuck, mostly because it was an odd time signature. It's kind of a 6/4. It's a little bit of a twisted and lopsided groove. It was sort of put off forever, and maybe nothing was going to happen with it. I would argue that nothing really did happen with it. But fortunately, coming up next is Baby Queen, which is an insanely tight groove. This is almost my favorite song on the album. It's one of these solo songs, but it's not. And it's all about meeting a princess. That's not really, but just so you know, I did the research. I looked up Thai princesses. It's about meeting a princess of Thailand. In the song, it says that she's grown up to be the queen. It's not true. Thailand has a king, of course. It's patriarchal society, But this is her. She's 42 years old now. I believe she met. Her name is Ploy Pailin Jensen. Tell by the last name. She married someone not from Thailand. She's an amazing woman, by the way. She's like a concert pianist who's performed at the Sydney Opera House. She has a BA in like psychology or something from University of San Diego and an MBA from MIT. So definitely a woman of substance. And here she is in a song. Now, of course, she's just being used, as a muse. But still, it's interesting, right? That it's really about meeting her and having these dreams. And it's this idea, you've grown up, oh baby queen. And I think this is what it is. This is the middle-agedness of it. Like, it's the weirdest thing. And most people watching, statistically, most people watching my channel are under the age of 25. What's up? How's it going? Yeet. But when you're in your 40s, like, weird things happen where you realize that, like, oh, right, the guy from Blur started Gorillaz, like, more than half my life ago. What? Like, I feel like the guy from Blur started Gorillaz 5 years ago. But that was nice. I was, seriously, more than half of my life has passed since that time. And so it's this feeling of passing. And the weird thing, and I assume that Damon Albarn feels the same way I do, I feel young. A lot of people don't feel young. Like, a lot of people, especially when they live their life when they're young, like, I gotta do this because I'm young, they feel really old. I never did that. I was never like, I gotta get wild because I'm young, because then you just get old. If you just sort of maintain a general childish wonder with the world, you can be young until the day you die. But the weird thing is, time keeps passing. I think that's what the song is about. That the princess that he met in 1997 is now grown up and married to someone named Jensen and has an MBA from MIT. And at the time that they met, she was just a teenage girl who liked a rock band, Beautiful song. Just great. I love it. Wonderful soaring arpeggio keyboards. Beautiful. Next song, another solo song called Tarantula. Weird kind of steel drummy voice sounds here, kind of 80s as well. Settles into a groove, talking about the sadness coming back. He has the laid back confidence of Bowie. Times run out in my life, nowhere real in my life, in the hills in my life, is what I feel all my life, on my own, on my own. Again, it feels a lot like OK Human, LA Blues, kind of a sweet love song. This is the most genuine, I think. This is the most, like, Damon's putting himself up there. The least that his avatar, his little avatar's in his way. He's not like, welcome to Professor Sky's Record Review. Welcome to Pilot Sky's Record Review, where we talk about all sorts of things. And we don't have to worry about growing old, because this is who we are. Yay! I move my hands around too much. It's actually not how she talks. I've never watched the cartoon. I don't know how she actually talks. I imagine her as having a southern accent. Next song is called Tormenta, featuring Bad Bunny. Again, the sort of like slight beach feel of the last song is much more pronounced here, more kind of steel drum, and then he doesn't go full reggaeton. He goes like 80% reggaeton. But then by the time Bad Bunny comes on and starts doing his, male Rihanna stuff on here, just feels super reggaeton. Bad Bunny just delivers. He just has that voice. You just always want to hear it. Like, one of the great voices in pop. Just, it's so great. Cool, kind of like interlude with like these toy pianos. There's lots of toy-like sounds on here. Again, the playfulness of Gorillaz is really something very cool here. It's like a little rain interlude. And then we get to my favorite song on the album, Skinny Ape. This, to me, is like, I own Park Life, okay? I own that album. I own like 2 other Blur albums. I bought them Crooked Vultures, okay? I'm not like some Albarn hater, but I've never connected to his music. I've never like felt his music deep in my soul until Skinny Ape. Like, this song, it starts off with like 5 guitars and 3 voices, and you think it's going to be this sort of like kind of acoustic thing, but then this insanely funky groove comes in with synthesizers and this great funky drums. A little bit later, like kind of 80s toms here, and it's just beautiful. It's just beautiful. It seems like he's maybe vaguely insecure about the future of the generation. Don't be sad for me. I'm a cartoon G. My intent is to breathe. In a new world, don't be sad for me. I feel like this is a continuation of Silent Running. This feels to me, my intent is to breathe in a new world. This is like Bruce Dern playing cards with Koopa robots, like flying into space. I like this idea, like, don't be sorry for me. I think he's saying I'm a cartoon. I don't think we're supposed to take this literally. I think we're trying to say, like, don't feel sorry for him, because the idea of being a skinny ape, right? Like it's a traditional thing. If you want to devalue human existence, we just call us hairless apes, call us skinny apes, because we're all just primates, So I don't fully understand exactly the point of the lyrics, but that's okay, because I get this sense that he's sort of resigning himself from his aspirations of grandeur, that he's just sort of allowing himself to breathe, to just sort of be. Now, I initially thought the words were, my only intent is to breed, which doesn't change anything, actually, in the lyrics. And then there's this great part where, like, double time with drums. I listened to this album 2 times in a row. So I have a newborn. Well, not newborn. She's 6 months old. Baby queen. And we have, like, this little pit that we keep for her, like little, so she just doesn't, get into trouble. And I listened to this album 2 times through with her. And I actually took Little Pilot Sky here, and I like do a little dance, and she was like, eh. It's a very nice moment. That's why, in case you're one of those young people, life gets better when you're middle-aged. Don't let anyone tell you that these are the good days when you're in your 20s. It sucks. You're lonely, you're scared, you're confused, you feel bad about yourself. Man, I would not be 20 again. I just wouldn't. I mean, I'm glad I went through it, It'd be nice if my back didn't hurt. Like, it'd be nice if my shoulder, if I didn't have arthritis, you know what I'm saying? That kind of stuff. But beyond that, I really like the pronunciation of the word ape at the end. It's just ape. And then it ends with Possession Island by Beck. I have a long and complicated history with Beck. I've spent most of my adult life despising Beck while also begrudgingly loving some of his projects. I think Midnight Vultures is probably a top 10 album of the 90s. I mean, I love Midnight Vultures, but if Sea Change were a person, I would go to jail for murdering it. That's how much I hate the album Sea Change. Oh, I hate that album. So I'm very conflicted when it comes to Beck. And so ending everything with Beck, I was like, oh no, I am not looking forward to this. Plus he's touring with Phoenix, which means, I guess it means I can just leave after Phoenix if I don't want to see it. But Beck is great here, because he's restrained. This is just a nice outro song. It's the first song that isn't really much of a groove. It's sort of announcing, moving on to probably the next project, right? Because this was supposed to be Song Machine Part 2, right? But they just abandoned that idea, which, thumbs up to Gorillaz. I didn't want a Sound Machine Part 2. I didn't want you to do all that over again. Make nice, slick albums like this that have many different grooves and a cohesive feeling. when the pearly gates remain open and welcome me home, because the time I came to California I died in the hands of the ghosting queen. I don't really get these lyrics, but they're sort of tied into these general theories of sort of the falseness of life, and California as representing the falseness of life. Of course, Beck is actually from California. Sometimes people get mad at him for being a Scientologist, but he was born into it, and it's pretty hard to be born into Scientology and not be from California. Very kind of playful piano in here as well. The way the word evermore is sung is like a direct Bowie imitation, and I realized the way this duet works, it's a lot like Little Drummer Boy by Bing Crosby and David Bowie. The way these voices work together, how little we have Beck, in the same way how little we had Crosby in the song with Bowie. It doesn't quite belong on the album, like Mexican guitar and horn part, you know. It doesn't quite belong on the album, but I think it's on purpose. I think it's to sort of segue you out and to sort of say goodbye to Cracker Island. So there's my review. These are my Patreons. Look at all them. They get to be up closer because they give me money so I can buy music. I might buy this album. I really might. I liked it a lot. It was a lot of fun to listen to. It's an easy listen. You know what I mean? It's not like... Yeah. Why am I still talking? The video's over. Go home. Tell me if you like it when I'm this far away. Should I be further away? Thank you for watching, guys. Record review. Okay, there's the camera.